Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and I am finally here with my January 2024 flip through. So I've got a whole stack of planners in front of me. Let's just get right into it. I obviously use multiple planners, and so we'll see all of these planners in action as I flip through it. But I did want to at least try to show you the entire stack of planners. I basically have all of these planners sitting on my shelf. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And one of them is two planners. So there are 9 planners here. And so I'm going to move them to the side. Actually, I don't know if I will have room for this. Okay, so I've moved the stack of planners over to the side and I have a clean slate and I'm ready to show you the stack. The first thing that I will mention is that I did in January Frankenplan everything. And so the pages for my classic size planners ended up kind of being stored here between these two covers. And so you'll see all of those pages in their separate planner. I did go ahead and break it down from this section and move them back into their actual planners. And so that's kind of where I stored it for use in January. And that's why the pin pouch is on here. But of course, I've taken all the pages out for January. And so that is just kind of where I used it in January. And now that January is over, I kind of just took all of those pages and put them back into their respective planners. I also in this video will not talk about 3 planners that I have. So I have a Go Wild planner / notebook that I won't be flipping through today. I also have Sophia's memory book and Rose's memory book. And those I don't actually do as part of this flip through. This to me is kind of like the functional flip through of all of the pages that I personally use and not so much the things for my girls. So with that being said, then I'm actually trying to decide where to start because I have a very large stack. And I think what I'm going to do is start with the big planners. So I do have 2 big planners and I wanted to flip through these 2 first just to get them out of the way more so than anything. So this one right here is my social media planner. This one is my work planner and I'm going to flip through my work planner first. And again, this is just going to be the January flip through. If you want to see like some of the other pages in here, please do let me know and I can certainly do that. It's just for me, more important to flip through the January pages. Okay, and so we're going to go here to January. So this is the planner that I'm using. It is Celestial Elegance, a big dashboard planner. I don't actually use the month for anything. Let me move this out of the way. I don't actually use the month for anything, as you can see here. So it's just going to be the weekly pages. So this is the first weekly. I use this side to track any events. I use this section to track my work hours. I use this section, of course, for tasks. And then here, I will take notes to myself. So it will be projects that I'm working on, notes from meetings, that kind of thing. And so that's just pretty much the flow for the entire week, the entire month. So this is that spread. This week, I did end up, there's like this inside part is like old notes, so it's a sheet of paper that I've just been saving to try to use the other side, the second side of it, and so I did end up finally using it. So I had some extra notes from a webinar that I was on, so I took notes on that. Here is the week of the 15th, the week of the 22nd, and then that's the end. I did not decorate this yet for February, but let me actually go back and show you the decorated page for January. So that's what it looks like. I decorated it, but I didn't fill it in. So that's pretty much it, all for work. And that has actually been working out really well for me. So I'm definitely going to be keeping that up for the rest of 2024 because I really do love that size. These 2 planners, my work and my social media planner, sit in my desk area and I just have it open all the time. So that way I can take all of the notes for these 2, like, I guess like work related things. One's a side hustle, my social media stuff, but my actual job, I can just take notes all the time if I need to. All right, so again, this is social media. I don't use a monthly, and what I used for social media were all of these random outdated teacher layout pages that I have. And so I just covered up the outdated portion and just renumbered across the top here. And then the first row generally is YouTube, and then the second row generally is going to be Instagram, and then I just take notes on the bottom. And that's just kind of how it goes. This side I didn't even label. I guess I could go back in and label it with the different categories. And then the week of the 15th, for whatever reason, I ended up not using a teacher layout page. I didn't even decorate for the week. And so this was definitely like the 18th or the 19th, maybe even the week after, the 20th, 21st, where I kind of put this together and just kind of threw down all of my notes for social media. And so because of that, I just kept it very simple. And so then here's the 22nd through the 28th. And you can see I just did not even write in complete sections, which I'm totally fine with white space, And so I only use the weeklies for social media. So I don't have monthlies. I don't have these currently pages. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I just track all of the notes to myself for things I want to record for my channel. Okay, so those were my two, like I said, work-related planners. They are the ones that just sit on my desk and I leave them open all the time. I don't Frankenplan those together. Now we're going to talk about the planners that I did Frankenplan together. And again, I did put them into like right here between the covers. I'll go ahead and show you this planner because this one I didn't Frankenplan into itself. It was already like this. I Frankenplanned all of the other pages into here. But this planner I just kind of left like this. Again, just the pages from the other planners ended up in here, but this is what I consider my family planner. Now, this particular planner does have one planner that I consider part of my home binder. It's like a question and answer journal that I use for Sophia, and then I have an actual family planner. So I'll show you both of those. This one says February. Okay, I guess I'm not going to show it to you because I forgot to pull that down. So I'm not going to show you the Q&A just because I forgot to pull it down, but I'll show you what it looks like in February just so you can get an idea. So this is what it looks like. I do cover up the questions here on, or cover up the numbers with questions. And then across the row, this is 2022, maybe 21, 22, 23, 24, no, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. And I ask the same question every single, like January 14th, I ask the same question and I just write Sophia's answer. Now, of course, I miss years and things like that. So it's not where I'm very consistent with it. But it does say January. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flip through this because it does say January. I'm missing some page. I have no idea what's happening here. I definitely will feel very, very, yeah. I don't know what's happening, but I definitely am missing pages here. But this is what it looks like. All right, so you get to flip through. I'm missing like the first 2 weeks. I don't know where they are. All right, anyway, that is the January month, even though it has February. Okay, and then for January, I used an outdated vertical. It was initially coil bound. The cover, in fact, not that cover. This cover was coil bound as well. But I basically converted it to disc bound. I was planning initially to use the monthly, but I ended up not, as you can see here. So I used just the weekly. And what I do in my family planner is it's for family and friends. I basically just take notes of different things, like in terms of text messages or Facebook messages or just things that I know are happening for my family. I just write them in here. If I interact with my family in a new way, like if I call them, if I, hear from them, or if I go visit them, I will write that in here. And so that's pretty much it. Those are the 4 weeks of January. And then the back here, I just did this just for fun. I don't think I'll do this every single time, although it's very cute. So I don't know, maybe I should. You can let me know if I should continue doing that. But I just wanted to, decorate that page for whatever reason when I had a free moment. So that is my family planner. Again, all of the other planners, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/6 more to go. Those pages ended up here each week, and I just stuck them in here and then moved them back into its respective planner once that week was up. I'm now going to go in like no particular order, just to try to get through the stack more than anything. This is the Bridgerton planner that I got from Amazon. I did purchase it straight from Amazon for the full price. Very expensive as a planner. I'm just not used to paying full price for it, but I did buy it for the discs. I still love this color. It's so beautiful. But I did want to try to find a use for this particular planner, and so I decided to convert it to my reading planner. And so for January, I kind of made the decision mid-January to use it as a reading planner. I don't use the monthly for any particular purpose, but I did decide mid-January to do it, so like the first couple of weeks are empty. And then one of the things that I did at the very end of the month was download a printable from Etsy that's like a reading planner, and they had several pages, including this one, which is a monthly reading log. And for most of the other months, I have it included like right between the dividers, like between the monthly spread. So I'm going to tape it down to the monthly spread itself. But here for January, I didn't, just because I didn't use the first couple of weeks, right? So this is what I read for the month of January. I wanted to read 8 books. I actually read 7, and I was trying to get back into reading, but I tend to be a binge reader. I binge everything, right? So I ended up reading quite a bit, like way more minutes than I was anticipating. So that's 4 hours, and that's 40 hours, 40 plus hours of reading. And so what I did for the daily reading tracker, instead of tracking how much time I read, I decided to track which books I read and how many days it took me. So I just started it and then drew the line to where I finished it. I like to read one book at a time, and so that's pretty much how I do it. And these are the 6 books that I did read through. I'll show you this on the weekly in a little bit more detail, but I do put my ratings, the date started and ended, the author and book name, and this information gets transferred into a weekly reading tracker. I'll show that in the February flip through, just because it's not really set up and finished for January. But I transfer this information to that weekly statistics tracker thing that I bought as, again, part of that printable set on Etsy. I will link the printable set from Etsy in the description so you can see that. But again, I started mid-January, so January 17th I started. I basically put the book when I started in a box and then just take notes on like series, author, and each day that I read. Here I didn't read at all, and so that's just kind of where it is. Whenever I finish the book, I will put a rating, and so my rating is pretty straightforward, I think, at least. A 5 rating is where I would recommend it, I would reread it, I would recommend it to everyone I know. So 5 is like a rare kind of occurrence. A 4 is something that I would reread again. I would definitely recommend it, but I don't necessarily like read it all the time. If it's like where I run out of books to read, which, I mean, who can run out of books to read? I will consider it, but it's something where it's a book that I think about, and I would consider rereading. A 3 is a book that I enjoyed, but I would not reread. A 2 is a book that I finished, and I would definitely move on in the series, but I don't know if it was my favorite book. And then a 1 is where I always try to finish books, so I will definitely finish a book, but it will take me forever to finish that book, and I would definitely not continue in the series. So that's kind of my rating. I should write that down somewhere. But here you can kind of see here, I read The Charm Sphere. It's one of those where I finished the book, I'll continue in the series, but it was definitely not my favorite book. The novella was much better. And so here, this section and all of this side, I basically used to take notes, as you can see here. I just jot down all the different notes from the series. There's no spoilers on here, I don't think. So it's just me taking notes of like characters, places, just like different pieces of information that are important to kind of keep in mind as you read through a book or a series. So that's what I do. So I did read The Charm Sphere and then Moonglow. They're both by Catherine Asaro. It's a romantic fantasy. And then I went to The Misted Cliffs. Now, this is like the second book of the series. Moonglow was a novella, which is kind of like a prequel. The Misted Cliffs is like the second book, and I did not enjoy it, right? I finished it, did not enjoy it. So I stopped with that particular series. Again, I just was taking notes, and this is all from The Misted Cliffs, this set of notes. So I decided to stop. I took a day off, and then I decided to pick up a brand new author to me, Carissa Broadbent. I started with Daughter of No Worlds, and I read through that entire trilogy. So you can see here, trilogy. Those are the 3 books of the trilogy, and I finished it within like 4.5 days. So it was definitely where I flew through the series and just like went straight through. Like this day I read for 16 hours. This day I read for almost 10 hours. So it was definitely like I was binge reading those 2 days for sure. And then I didn't finish out the rest of January because it's in the February monthly. But once I finished that particular series, which I think I finished it on Monday, the 29th, I decided to clear my brain and take a break. And so on the 30th of January, I picked up Janet Ivanovich's book, Full House. Yes, I'm pretty sure it was Full House is the first of the series. Full House, just to have a lighter read. So that was my reading setup. If you want a more thorough reading journal flip through, please do let me know, because I can definitely do that. I love to read, so if you have book recommendations too, please do send them my way. All right, chores planner. Again, these pages were in my Frankenplanner, but I've moved them back in here. So I'm going to flip just to January. If you want to see any of the beginning information, please do let me know, because I can definitely flip through it. These are all part of my like home binder setup from like a previous iteration of this particular planner. So it's something I've flipped through before, but it's kind of hard to find that information. So I could definitely do a separate video. But here's January. I don't use the monthly again. And so what I decided to do was just tape down a piece of like coloring page on the second half of the monthly, just to have it like this. And then I use a Simply layout, which is just like kind of like the right hand side of the dashboard. And I write down here in the boxes any journaling or like notes related to a decluttering challenge that I'm completing called Declutter 365. And so I just write about like what the challenge of the day is, whether I did it or not, and any additional like kind of major cleanup project that I do, I kind of journal about in here. Here's just tracking chores. I was trying to stamp here, but I did not like how it looked stamped, so I gave that up after a couple of weeks. But here I had like just some notes related to the Sunday basket, which is something I wanted to try for 2024. Just some notes for different tasks that I ended up dropping into my Sunday basket. And on Sunday or on Friday, I went through my Sunday basket, and I personally like to have just a long list of all of my tasks. So I wrote them out here. On the back side, I cleaned out my junk drawer. This thing is so beautiful. I don't know why. It just gives me all the good feels to clean out something that is just so junky, right? A junk drawer is very messy usually, and mine was very messy, but I cleaned it up and it looks so nice. And it still looks very nice. I just literally this morning went in there to add something in there, and it still looks just as nice. So that is that. I tried to use stickers. I did not like that. So you'll see here I went to just writing it in by hand, but again, it's just journaling about the decluttering challenge. I did very good with the first 2 weeks, but then we moved into food storage, so things related to the fridge and freezer, and I don't tend to keep a lot of like overstock, so this was really not that relevant to me. And so we're finishing out in the kitchen, and it's still, most of it's not really super relevant to me. I'm just not a huge cook or chef, or like, you know, I don't collect pots and pans and cookware or any of that type of stuff. So we've, at this point, you know, I've organized my kitchen and I've organized my pantry, and that was about it for January. Like that was the most like important part of the decluttering challenge. I'm excited to move into something else though for the month of February. Okay, next is my budget journal. I did move this to expanders. Again, I might do a separate video on this. I don't actually know, but I put in like some actual monies, my cash envelopes in here. If you want that video, I will flip through it in a separate video, just talking about this setup. I'm actually not going to show you my numbers, and so this will be blurred out mostly, but I did want to show you, you know, how it got set up. So here, this will be blurred out, but this is essentially my monthly budget. Just to read it out to you, this section right here, I keep my income and just track what I budget for income and what I actually received as income. This is bills. This box right here is bills. So I have all of my household bills as well as like subscriptions, things like that, that get pulled out of our checking account. So that goes here. And then this whole section is basically cash envelopes. So in this section, I have my food cash envelope, my personal envelope, that just all the fun stuff I do, planner supplies. If I buy something nice for myself, that goes from the personal envelope. I have Sophia's allowance, which is $20 a month. I have a gifts envelope, which is for basically Christmas and birthdays. I have a vacation envelope for any trips, of course. I have a kids one, which is for any kind of like after school activities or any maybe like gifts or educational things that we do for them. That's out of the kids envelope. I have a health envelope, so for all of the medical expenses, medicines, that kind of thing. There's an education one, which is like any textbooks that I buy for myself, professional development, anything that Sophia does that's during school, so like her school field trips, that kind of thing. Here, this is pretty much empty. This is an overflow. I actually ended up not using this box, so there's nothing there. And then these two, they're actually cash envelopes too, in the way that I do it. So this one is home. Home is like any home improvement projects, any house decor that I buy, any maintenance projects. Like, I'm trying to think of one, like we actually just had a pipe burst at our house. So that would be pulled out of this home envelope. I have car service, so any maintenance on my car. And then I have gas, right? And so basically these bottom sections minus this one. This one's empty, this one's empty, but these are just my cash envelopes. And again, I have my cash envelopes here in the front. If you want a separate video on that, please do let me know, and I will try to clean it up and show you actual like data. Right, and again, I'm going to like kind of cover this up. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to flip over here. I'm going to talk to you about what this looks like with blank spots. Okay, so I kind of talked about this. This is what it looks like, not filled out. This is the March. It's undated, right? But here on the calendar, what I did for January is I decided, well, I wanted initially to put my bills, but I am tracking bills, you know, automatically. They are automatically paid. I'm not worried too much about not having the funds to pay my bills. And so what I decided to use this for instead was to track all of my planner purchases, just to be able to see how much I'm spending on planner supplies. And so I did that in January. I just used pen, put in the dates, and started writing in what I spent on planner supplies. And then this page is a monthly budget review. It says balance from last month, total income, total expense, the difference between those two, total saving, and then balance forward, which in January, I definitely need to fill that out. I did like kind of like start the numbers, but I didn't actually sit down with the calculator to finish that out. But we definitely transferred forward or carried forward a lot of money. I try to spend way below my actual income, just as a way to like have like rainy day funds. And then this one says, where did I have the most trouble? Where could I improve this month? And what goals can I set for next month? I did fill this out. The area where we had the most trouble was we got hit with 2 major household expenses, maintenance projects that we were not expecting. I mentioned the pipe bursting, and there was another big thing that we had to like write a huge check for. It was actually our HOA, which I know comes every year in January, but you know, for whatever reason, it's just we had to write a big check for that, and it is an annual payment instead of a monthly payment. So that was a big expense. What could I do to improve this month? I ended up deciding to, and this is what I wrote in January, I decided to rebalance some of the things. Like I reduced the dollar amount that was in the kids category. So I had in there initially $500 to pay for daycare, but I decided to put daycare as a bill that's just automatically pulled from our account instead of considering it a kids fund. And so I put more money into bills, took out some of the money from kids. And then what goals can I set for next month? I really want to be able to pay down the household expenses, so that way we can start building up that fund again. So that was what I wrote in January. This planner does come with like some additional pages in here, but for January and for all of these months, I don't actually use like the expense trackers. I do expense tracking in a tiny little micro book, and I just write like literally like where I went and how much I spent on the day. So that's pretty much it. And here, in January, I stick in all of the bills. So like bills, like, so the power bill, the water bill, that kind of thing, I put it into this envelope just so I can have a track, or like keep track of those things, right? So that's what I did for January. Again, I just wanted to show you what that looks like, even though I didn't really show you anything there. And I can definitely try to do a different video if that's something you're interested in. Okay. 3 more, okay? I'm gonna go a little bit faster. Okay, so for Faith, I also upgraded this to expander discs, just because I wanted to add in all of my Genesis notes. I mentioned that in a previous video. I can't remember which one, but I did go ahead and add all of the notes from, I think it was my 2023 Faith Planner flip through. I added all of those notes in here. And so I do use for 2024 the Faith Warrior Planner. So this is the cover for it. In between this cover that I made and then the Faith Warrior Planner cover, I just put all of the 2023/Genesis notes. But here is the beginning of the Faith Warrior Planner for 2024. Some of this I will have to blur out just because it's prayer requests and actual notes from my church. But again, I don't use the monthly. But one thing that I am doing is a scripture writing challenge. This is from Christian Book, so christianbook.com. I downloaded it and I just wrote these. You'll see this. I checked it off, but I wrote it in the weekly pages. So you'll see that. I need to take this down. But this is kind of like, here it is, and I wrote it down here. And I did start several like book reading through the Bible plans on the Bible app, but I didn't really enjoy it. I prefer commentary, so I actually decided just a couple of days ago to switch to something different. We'll talk about that in the February flip through. But then I took notes. I was finishing up Bible in a Year, which was from 2023, so I finished that up. I have some coloring pages, so I added those in here, took notes on the back of there. I won't pull this out, but it's basically Rose's handprint, and then Sophia made a little heart kind of with a brad. You know, it's like a little crafty thing that she did at Sunday school. Again, we're coloring, more coloring. Rose actually did that. And so here we go. She colored this part. I took notes on the back of it. And then again, I'll actually blur out this part of it, but these are all of my prayer requests. I talk about any praises to God, any prayers for others, and then any prayers for myself. Here I was using it to track things, so tracking any reading that I'm doing in the Bible app, prayers. Obviously, I'm not very good about like marking this, but I do try to pray every night with Sophia. And then gratitude, writing, which is the previous pages of the planner itself where I was writing out the verses, and then watching. So one of the Bible plans that I have is the Bible Project, and they do have like some short videos explaining the different books of the Bible, and so watching those, right? And then here's a blessing. We found a new home for our choir, and then of course like the Bible Project, which I started on the 4th. Right, so that's kind of the setup. It will be these verses that I write out. It will be notes from church on Sunday, and then it will be these kind of different pieces from Sunday school, which I will have to blur that out. But the different notes from Sunday school and any like just additional like coloring or notes or anything like that I have, and I just stick them all here in between the pages, right? So this is kind of what that looks like, right? It gets much simpler, I think. I don't actually know. I don't actually decorate. Oh, this one I didn't actually write the sermon notes, study notes. I posted in a photo here that my niece Malia drew for me. Again, some stuff from Sunday school. I will have to blur out this part, but then I just decided to write here, so you can definitely take a look at what that looks like. And then the last week here looks like this. This was an outdated planner that I did redate for the month of January and February. In March, it will start being the correct dates because it's a 2019 planner. But here you can see this is what it looks like without all the additional stuff in the middle, because I ended up cutting up their pictures from Sunday school and kind of putting it in here. So that's what it looks like. And then I did finish or fill out the currently page in the back. So that's what that is, right? Here we go. Okay, this is part of the problem of using so many planners. I've got so many planners to flip through. Okay, so there are two planners in here. One is a weekly planner and one is a daily planner. So the weekly planner, I basically just use highlighter. I don't use any of the monthly stuff again, right? Don't use this stuff. I use just the weekly, and I highlight the different categories. So I have sleep in yellow, personal, like things I do for myself, by myself. Family is any events or time that I spend with my girls or with my family. House is house chores. And then budget is basically work and social media. So those two very beginning planners, which you probably don't even remember them, but anything related to social media or work, I put in here. Now for actual work, like my actual job, I put a W next to it, but that's pretty much it, what I do for time tracking. I missed a day entirely right here. And then I missed this entire day as well. And then this page I ended up losing. So I had no idea where this page was. I ended up finding it eventually, but that meant that I didn't do this. And because I didn't do this, I didn't do this. So it was a very short time tracking week or like month. But then here are the daily pages. I did very well with decorating each of these pages. I do several plan with me's related to my daily setup and how I do this, so I won't discuss it. I'll just flip through it fairly quickly because this video is already 30 minutes long. I don't want to keep you here forever, but this is what it looks like. And I just write all of the things in here. It will be events where I'm actually doing planning, but mostly it's journaling where I'm kind of writing in the moment. What are the things that I'm doing? So I log my food, I log any to-dos that I have, I write down all the things that I am just thinking in the moment. That's kind of what I do here. But I do have one section that's kind of reserved for, just, I don't know what that, oh, okay. Probably should be like this. So you can see the whole week. So events are like written in big, you can see that. But mostly it's just me journaling. So this is what this looks like. I put in random like stuff in the middle too. This I will have to blur out. It's just some stuff from my mom. So that's what that looks like. Okay, and then here's the 19th. The 20th, it gets a little bit simpler. just because I was getting into the routine of January. In the end of like the second half of January, there was, just work. There wasn't really any major ups or any major downs, not any major big events either. So I felt like it was pretty straightforward. Now, one thing that I did decide to do was just kind of follow the same like format or like weekly layout that the Happy Planner uses. So all of the Happy Planners ended with January 28th. And so I did do that. I decided that after the fact. So I did start this page, but I ended up changing my mind and transferring these notes right here to a new page. And so that will be with my February planner. But that is all. Okay. I flipped through all of them. I won't pull them back up. That was basically, I think I said 9 initially, but it was actually 10 planners. So a very long flip through, but that's how I use it. All of these planners, I do like to compartmentalize everything, and I do like to use them. So I do use my planners. If I don't use them, that is fine as well. I don't, beat myself up if I don't use my planners regularly. It is meant to be a hobby. It's meant to keep me on track. It is not meant to be something that's overwhelming to me. So I do it for fun. But that is my flip through. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any comments or questions or ideas, any of that type of stuff. I would love to hear from you for what you think of my planner flip through. So if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, and until the next video. Bye guys.